Hey guys, project-zodiac here. I'm back with another video, and as you can see, it's another video game review, and it's actually one that's not related to the Xeno series. So in this video, we're reviewing Tron Evolution, and the Tron series as a whole means a lot to me, and I love it. But that's kind of why I've been releasing a lot of Tron content recently, to kind of celebrate me getting the Identity Disc, which I love, and also just because I've had these scripts written for a while now and I've wanted to do videos on them eventually. So I thought this would be the perfect time. So as you guys have seen, I've already made a few Tron videos before. I'm releasing all of this back to back. So keep in mind as well that this particular video is kind of going to be as a podcast. So I'm not really going to do any editing other than just making sure that my voice is fine. And yeah, it's just going to be the, the thumbnail picture basically. So I'm sorry for that if it seems a little bit lazy. I just do have a lot to take care of in general, but I wanted to still do this. So yeah, just listen to it as you go about your day. And with that said, keep in mind as well that this will have spoilers for Tron Evolution. Now, let's get into this video. So, Tron is a series that means so much to me. The second movie, Tron Legacy, captivated me so much, and I still remember seeing it for the first time in theaters. And I ended up seeing it with my older brother, and it was also a movie that we both loved a lot. So much so that he even remembers the soundtrack for it, and I know he does because recently I was cleaning my room and I had the Tron soundtrack playing, and he heard this soundtrack and he came into my room and he asked if the music was from Tron Legacy, and he got curious. So I told him that it was. And I also told him about the new Tron movie, Tron Ares, being released soon as well. And honestly, it's really nice for us, the Tron series. It was one of the few special moments and experiences that both me and my brother shared together, and that we both loved so much. So it did captivate us in very similar ways. So when the movie released, I knew that there was a game about it. And while my brother did have a PS3, he never bought that game. And so I never played it. The Tron Evolution game was something I always really wanted to play, as was the original Avatar game for the PS3 as well. Sadly, I never got to play either of these games. That is until in the year 2023 when I finished playing all of this. Last year in 2023, I finally ended up getting a PlayStation Plus subscription, and I ended up getting the highest version that they have of the subscription plans. And I was surprised to see that Tron Evolution was amongst some of the old games that are available to play. Sadly, the original Avatar game was not an option or available, but either way, I finally had a way to at least play this game, Tron Evolution, and I was so excited. And I remember back when the game released that there was this really cool collector's edition, and there was also a lot of hype that was put around in regards to this game. I knew it wasn't really the story of Sam or Kevin, and I did know that it was a story about a program doing things in the grid, but I never realized what the story actually was until now. And I also remember that a lot of people, when the game released, even though they had a lot of hype for it, they didn't really like the game that much when it released. And they said that it was a bit repetitive and clunky, but I do think that they still did like the online mode, if I remember correctly. However, I don't really remember what they thought about the overall story. And when I started the game and I realized what the actual overall story was, I was quickly sucked into it. So let's talk about that first. Let's talk about the story. The story follows how Clue took over the grid, basically, and it is also set right before he kills all of the ISOs with a virus called Abraxas that is threatening the system, and the game ends with Clue taking the grid and Cora being the last ISO. The game is short and it moves along very, very fast. The story itself is really fast paced, and it does some things that I wish that the movie did, which is basically showing us more about how Clue took over the system and how the ISOs were killed. We do get to see this all here, and it is really sad, and it was also handled in a really well way and with so much care as well. we get to see a lot about the world of Tron, and I love it. Hearing the programs and the ISOs talk and their thoughts on everything is amazing, and even going to where the ISOs lived was a really cool idea, even if it was rushed. At around the same time that I did play Tron Evolution, I had also recently read Tron Betrayal for the first time, and I'm glad that the events of the ISO's destruction was explained more similar to the movie in the game rather than the epilogue of the comic. And if you guys have been following my Tron videos, I'm releasing these in chronological order, and it's in a playlist that is released, and this playlist itself is also in chronological order in how you should be watching them. So in chronological order of the events of the movies and the stories and everything. So this I'm obviously releasing right after Tron Betrayal. So definitely check that video out. So I do have some complaints about how the ISO's destruction happened in the comics. So I'm glad that they handled that destruction more similar to how it was represented in the movie. However, since the comic still shows us things in full before this destruction, I was still amazed with it as well. So again, please watch and listen to my thoughts on Tron Betrayal. So what I'm trying to say here is that the comic shows us how the ISOs came to be and the conflict arising between the programs and ISOs, while this game, Tron Evolution, shows us the results of that conflict and the destruction of the ISOs. These two stories together work so well in telling us what happened between Tron 1 and Tron 2, which is Tron Legacy. It is just so good. I love how we can see more of the programs and the ISO's cultures in this game and in the comic as well. And I also love how we get to see many different parts of their cities and how we get to see that there are many different colored lights on the programs other than the blue and orange options that we see in the movies. It really added a lot to the series, in my opinion, this game and the comic, but focusing mostly on the game. So in short, the story of this game was amazing. I loved it. But what about the gameplay? Honestly, I didn't really think it was that clunky. It was a short game, about 8 hours or so long, but the environments and the art style and the lighting effects was all done so well, and it really does make you feel like you're exploring the off sections of the grid and some of the sections in the cities as well. I just wish that all of these towns and that we get to visit and all of these other sections was a bit bigger and allowing you to explore it all in full. So yeah, gameplay wise, I did not think it was clunky, and I loved that it really does make you feel like you are in the world of Tron. And at the same time too, I do also feel like a little bit of the gameplay was linear because of how the sections of the world design was. But to be honest, considering how focused the story is, I don't really mind that the gameplay can be a little bit linear and that there really isn't many big open spaces to explore. It was actually kind of refreshing, honestly, given how most games nowadays are just big open world games. And I love open world games, but most games now are open world games. So it's nice to play a game in a traditional way, considering how games are being made now. But that doesn't mean that I don't want a big open world Tron game. I do. I really wish that we do get a big open world Tron game soon. We now just got, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora back in December, and that was really, really good. And I also wrote my thoughts on that, so I should probably be releasing that eventually too. So hopefully for Tron, it might come, with the next Tron movie, a new game, an open world game for Tron Series. Anyway, back to the game design of this fantastic game. We got the sound design and the music and the atmosphere. All of that for this game was done so well. It was so well done. The combat was fine. It was simple, but there isn't much that can be done with this kind of gameplay to begin with, which is basically a linear beat up a bunch of enemies and go on to the next section, and then the section after with some more enemies, and every now and then maybe come across a small puzzle or a boss fight. So it's just very traditional gameplay, but honestly, it didn't feel like it was that repetitive. even though there are some parts that did. And honestly, I just thought that all of this in general was really cool. I also love the free running elements in this game, as it added a new layer to the gameplay, which was really unique and kind of made the platforming elements of it really unique as well. And it all just fits so well with the series in a way. Another cool element that really fits this series that the gameplay has is I thought that the light cycle parts were really cool and really added some diversity to the gameplay as well. But yeah, the light cycles are just amazing. In the end, I'm not so sure why people bashed this game when it released, because they bashed it so much from what I remember. It's short, but in a good way, and it expands so much on the story, and it is canon, and it's still canon over 10 years later. And the gameplay is pretty fun, even if it's not the most unique gameplay or the most diverse gameplay, and it can be a little repetitive in some parts, but it's still really fun. I just wish that the online was working for me to test that out as well, because I wasn't able to. But yeah, overall, this game was just fantastic. And this is how tie-in games and media should be like, expanding on a part of the story of a movie that was not fully explored, just hinted at or quickly explained. Having multimedia fully expand on something very important like that is the way that tie-in media should be. Now, at the time of beating this game and writing this review, the newest Tron game, Tron Identity, didn't release. It was still a few months ahead. I believe that I played this and wrote this back in January 2023. Right now it's July 2024. But the Tron Identity has released, and I have played it, and you guys will see that in the next video. So Tron Identity, it's more of a graphic novel game, so it's not supposed to be very long, and it's not. But I was so excited to play that game, and I love it. I'm just gonna say right now, that game is amazing. So hopefully you guys see my review and my thoughts on it. Now, I know that there's also a old game that was supposed to be canon to the story, and it's also set between Tron 1 and 2, and it's called Tron 2.0, and originally it was supposed to be Tron 2. That's why it's called Tron 2.0, which makes sense that it would be called that as well as a sequel. So while I've heard about Tron 2.0, and I thought it was always just a collection of mini games from the grid that you get to play as a program, and that there was really no actual story in this game, and that it's just supposed to be a quick collection of mini games, kind of bland and random and unrelated to the canon. However, recently I have found out that it turns out that whatever the story in that game is, it technically is supposed to be canon, or at least it was supposed to be canon. I don't really know if it still is. It seems like some people do consider it canon still, and some people don't. So yeah, overall for Tron 2.0, I'm very excited and curious to see what that story is. But as of right now, I have not played Tron 2.0, and I guess that there's a GBA version of it, because Tron 2.0 is a PC game, and I guess that there's a GBA version of it, which is also a sequel to it, or also like a side story that's also canon. I'm not sure, but I guess that the PC version is the one that most people talk about, because I didn't even know there was a GBA version until I was told by someone on Reddit when I was made a post asking about the Tron 2.0 comic, which I should also probably review and read because I haven't read it yet. So anything regarding Tron 2.0 I have not read or watched or played yet. So that's not going to be included here or on my playlist for Tron until I eventually do. And it'll go in the right place where it should be chronologically as well. But I am still really excited to see that story. But overall, going back to Tron Evolution was an amazing game and an amazing experience, and I'm really glad I've finally been able to play it. I didn't know that it was canon to the story until I actually played it. And now I'm really just upset that I never even bothered to watch all of the cutscenes when the game released, which means I could have seen this canon Tron story so long ago. But playing it through without knowing fully that the story was canon or what the story was, and experiencing it as the characters in the game were, was just amazing, and it just felt so real. So I'm so grateful for that as well. But yeah, guys, it's not the most in-depth review, and it's also not the most edited, but it's kind of like a podcast. So I hope you guys enjoyed just hearing my thoughts on this game as a whole. If I had to give it a ranking, I'd probably give it a 7.5 out of 10, to be honest. This game really just was so fun, and it expands on something that the movie should have expanded on in so many ways as well. And so now I can't even be mad at the movie anymore, because we see this being expanded in the game. It's like the game and the movie were, when I say the movie, I'm talking about Tron Legacy. It's like they were worked on together to have two things for you to follow to see the full story. And I love that, because it was done really well. You can enjoy both and get enough information out of both without needing to have both to get the full picture. So I love that, because both just expands on what the other is talking about, and that's how multimedia stories and just things in general should be. It's supposed to expand on each other, but letting each other still stand on its own. And I love that Tron did that. So yeah, this game really was amazing. And I'm so excited now that we're getting more Tron things as well, with Tron Ares set to release next year. But with all that said, guys, I'm sorry the editing isn't the best. And I'm sorry my overall thoughts is a little bit just here and there, in regards to, like, I keep jumping all over the place. But I was just so excited to talk about this game and play this game. It really is a fantastic game. So let me know what you guys think about Tron Evolution. And with all that said, rate, comment, subscribe, guys, and I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good day.